Coach Mookie Hawkins, Welfare Sports 1080. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mookie. How you doing?
I'm doing good, Coach. Glad to see you guys made it back safe. And hey, we all know how those week one dog fights can be, right? So I know you reviewed film by now. So let's just get into that second half. What do you think led into giving up a 10-point lead there?
Well, I think first and foremost was the turnovers. I think we had three of them in the second half alone, and anytime you turn the ball over, it's hard to win.
Absolutely. I know that's not your type of football, especially in any type of setting, whether it's week one or week 17. But what do you think were some bright moments of yesterday, and what are some areas you think you need to improve going into week two?
Well, I just think overall, I think we, defensively gave up a big run in there or two, and we need to do a better job at the point of attack and with our tackling as well, and then just I think offensively, just getting into a little bit better of a rhythm offensively, and we talked about the turnovers already, and so the special teams, obviously the coverage unit at the end of the game wasn't good enough there, and the kicking game. So plenty to work on, plenty of adjustments to be made, and that's why they call us coaches here. So we're here to develop players in a team.
Absolutely, Coach. Like always, thank you for your time.
Yeah, buddy.
Hey, Coach, you mentioned giving up a couple long runs there against the Jets last night. The Raiders have a good running back in Josh Jacobs. So just evaluating the film from yesterday, what do you need to see out of the defense here going into week two, specifically looking at that run defense?
Yeah, physicality at the point of attack, I think, is important for us as we continue to try and take another step here this week as we move forward, Maddie, and use of our hands to get off blocks and defeat blocks, and then tackling overall. I think that's going to be important as we continue to move throughout the season here.
And then I know it's early. I know you're probably closing the chapter on week one, but looking forward to the Raiders game. What do you know about that team so far? New quarterback in Jimmy G, of course.
Yeah, talented football team. Know the coordinator or the head coach, really in this case, as the ex-coordinator of the Patriots, and so Josh McDaniels has a history of going against the Bills and us against him and his offensive system. He does a great job, extremely smart, does a great job game planning. So along with the players that they have with Jacobs and Adams, and they're talented, and they added the receiver they got from the Patriots this offseason, Myers, and he's a heck of a football player as well. So they've got a pretty talented offensive football team.
Thanks, Coach.
Sure.
Good afternoon, Sean. Josh, he's had so much success in this league. I'm wondering from a coach's perspective, what are the challenges as you kind of go through this season and you have a game like this and you have to talk to him about something that he's been talking about himself, like making smart decisions. How challenging are those conversations, knowing how much he's done and then trying to kind of hone in on the details of something so specific that he kind of took ownership of yesterday?
Yeah, he's great with that in terms of taking ownership. It is something that he had spoken about previous to the regular season being kicked off, and then sometimes we're not able to take from what we want to do to what we really do to what we do in the moment, but those are learning opportunities as well. So that's what we're trying to solve moving forward is making sure that we find ways to win. And it's hard when you do turn the ball over. It gets harder and harder to win when you do that. So, but Josh he's very upfront about it, as you know, and he wants to get it corrected, and that's important to him.
With Ken yesterday, what was your evaluation on how he called that game, and a secondary part of that, how have you seen his relationship with Josh Allen grow as an offensive coordinator from when he was the quarterbacks coach with him?
Yeah, different dynamic. Still a good relationship. When you're the coordinator, it's a little different than when you're in the position room as a quarterbacks coach every day. Dorsey is in there Ken is, but not as much obviously as Joe is at this point. So I thought Ken did some really good things yesterday, and then like anything, there's plays that you want back as a play caller, and you want to put them in a little bit better position, perhaps moving forward. So he would tell you that, but overall, we're looking to take another step this week on offense.
Hey, Sean.
Sure.
Yeah, hey Sean, Alex Brasky, Batavia Daily News. After some of these turnovers, when Sean goes to the sideline and has discussions with whoever he's having these discussions with, do you feel like those discussions have been effective in helping him reset after some of those turnovers and move forward from those?
Yeah, I think you mentioned Sean, but you meant Josh.
Yeah, my apologies.
Um,
Well, it's been a long night and morning for all of us, I'm sure.
I hear you. No, I hear you. I can relate, buddy. I can relate. No, it's when you're in the moment, when you're playing a game, you want to be able to reset. That's powerful. It's a powerful tool, and you want to make sure that the player, in this case Josh, is able to reset, and we're staying positive, yet at the same time making sure we're making that adjustment that we need to make. And I think that's one of the hardest pieces when there's multiple. When there's one, you can kind of digest that a little bit because things happen, right? When there becomes multiple, that's when it's a hard pill to swallow, because as we know that when the disparity in the turnover ratio gets out of whack, it's again really hard to win football games. So it's really just about taking that negative situation, trying to learn from it, and then quickly turning it back into a positive and getting your mind back to play winning football.
Oh, I asked you about the punt yesterday. Now that you've had a chance to watch the play, what were your takeaways from that play? Did you like the direction of the kick, and what were your takeaways from the coverage?
Yeah, just all in all, not good enough execution by our coverage team there, and our punt, our kicking game overall, really. And so anytime you kick one down the middle of the field, it's not a good thing because obviously there's multiple ways that they could go with it. So as I mentioned last night, you'd like to pin them on or near the numbers, or even closer to the sideline than that. And unfortunately, there was a lot of hands in that. It's never just excuse me, one person could have had a better snap, punt, and then obviously the coverage as well. So got to do a better job there for sure moving forward.
Sorry to monopolize your time. How did you feel about the performance from the offensive line, specifically Spencer Brown at right tackle?
I think he won some, and I think they got him some as well. And I thought he played hard. He really did. I thought he did some good things for us. That's a tough defensive line to go against. But there were some times where, in particular, the one stood out just towards the end of the game there in regulation, where the guy, the right end, was coming around the edge a little bit on him. And so it's just Spence, I thought, improved on some things he wanted to improve on, and we're looking for him to continue to improve as we move through the year.
All right, thanks for your time.
Yep.
Hey, Sean, it's Jay with the Buffalo News. I'm sorry if you might have been asked this. I may have joined a question late, but was there any consideration to taking one of the penalties and setting up 3rd and 23? And if so, what made you decide not to do that?
Yeah, we had one. I think if we're thinking about the same one, high red zone maybe. Is that the one you're referring to, Jay?
It was a play where they actually had 2 penalties on them, and you declined both. It would have been, I think, 3rd and 23 as opposed to 4th and 13, and then I think they kicked maybe a 43-yard field goal.
Yeah, well, I think it would have put them at the 35-yard line instead of the 25-yard line, roughly, if I remember correctly. But then, you're never sure what's going to happen that next play. And having Zerline, the kicker, he's got a really strong leg. He's known to have a strong leg. So it wasn't going to knock him out of range necessarily. And I didn't want to give him another shot at better field position there. So, it was kind of a neutral situation for us, and figured we'd just take 4th down as it was.
Okay. When Steph has a game like he had yesterday, what do you have to do to get a secondary receiving option going? Because when it's so skewed in favor of him, I have to think that opposing defensive coordinators are going to see that and kind of gear up to stop him. So if that does end up being the case, how important is it for the offense to have that secondary receiving option that you can lean on?
Yeah, I think that's big. I think it's really big. Whether it's a wide receiver, tight end, back, whatever it is, we need that. And probably didn't get it as much as we would have liked to yesterday. And thought Steph had a good day overall, and obviously had the touchdown on the scramble play there. It was productive in the 2-minute drive to go tie it as well. And but I did see in the 2-minute drive, Gabe stepped up his game there, which is when we needed him to do it. And other guys were involved. Just I think we could mix some of those guys in there some more as well in terms of opportunities and so there's only one ball. All that being said, right? You want to make sure that Steph gets what he needs in terms of as a number one receiver that he is for us, and but spreading the ball around and other people becoming viable options for us is also important for us.
Sounds good. Thanks, Sean.
Yep.
Hey, Sean. A few different things. To start with, Christian Benford just playing 100% of the snaps on defense. What did you make of his game yesterday, how he did?
Right. I thought he handled himself well. He was around the ball. He tackled well. Made a great play on that long run, effort-wise, to allow us to line up again, and saved us 4 points there as we made the red zone stop and forced a field goal. So a lot of good things. I know there's things he wants to work on as he continues to move forward, and it's important that he continues to improve his game week by week here.
Is that a position that you feel good that that's his role now, or is that still kind of a week-to-week evaluation on who will start there?
Yeah, well, I think that's kind of how it goes anyway, right? Whether you're young or older, and it's hey, every week you want to put your best foot forward and continue to grow. And he just started his very first game, so that's it's still a new situation, opportunity for him.
And then on the flip side, with Kyer a healthy scratch, what do you guys still need to see out of him as he, continues to find his role in this defense?
Yeah, I mean, he's just got to continue to, have a great week of practice and continue to improve his game in the areas that he needs to work on. And, like I've said before, the tape is what we go by. So the film is what we go by. And, felt like Christian had the more consistent off season, really.
And then just with Terrell Bernard, to jump quickly, what did you make of his game and how did communication go there?
Yeah, communication was pretty good overall, especially for a first time. And TB, who hadn't had a lot of reps, through the training camp because of the injury. But I did some really good things. Thought he was physical, played some, had good awareness and zone coverage. And but then, things he wants to do better as well from the standpoint of opportunities when we pressure and just a little bit of operation in terms of our communication. But overall, I thought it was a good first outing for him. Sure.
Hey, Sean, I know you touched on the turnovers, but I was curious with the 3 interceptions, when you watched those back, was there a theme or like kind of something consistent that was happening on those that you could take away from them?
No. No, I mean, just most of them were down the field, right? And, I mentioned last night, I think some of those were when we were off schedule a little bit, but not all of them were. To say about all of them, it was just overall balls thrown down the field, and sometimes we needed the yards, sometimes we didn't need the yards, and just trying to be smart and play good situationally smart football, and just trying to do too much sometimes, right? And Josh is such a strong competitor and has that competitive drive and wants to help the team in any and every way he can. And sometimes we just gotta just chip away at it when we're off schedule, or if it's third down and long, know that a punt is okay. And so it's just all about being, playing winning football at the end of the day.
And then I was curious on another note. I also joined a little late, so sorry if you talked about this already, but from your perspective, calling the plays and with the game management stuff, how did that go yesterday? Did you feel like the flow was there with that being your first time kind of doing both? How did that go?
Yeah, I mean, every game's different. Some games you're going to have more game management things that come up than others. Yesterday, I thought we did a fairly decent job on the communication on handling the game management piece, and tried to get the one down the end with 10 seconds to go and get the ball about 5 yards closer if we could, and for TB and his kick, and try to get that ball in the flat there. But thought TB made a nice had a nice kick down the stretch, and got that ball between the uprights and hit off the one, but got a good bounce, which is good. So, but overall, rather smooth.
Thanks.
Sure.
Hey, Coach, one more for me. I know you talked about Josh being such a fierce competitor, and I know you love those types of guys on the team. But where do you kind of toe that line of Josh being that fierce competitor, but living to see another down?
Well, yeah. I mean, that's when you say living to see another down, what comes to mind is number one, physically, his health, right, and just playing smart. We don't need Josh to sacrifice his body as much as he does, and just slide or go out of bounds from a health standpoint. Number one, because we need him healthy through the entire season, and then number two is just keeping the big picture in mind at all times, or as much as possible. That there's just linking all three phases up and playing good complementary football is important. So it doesn't all have to happen at once or on one down in particular.